We're back with more reader comment, reader mail, reader tweets in our new BACKCHAT feature. BACKCHAT is produced and directed by my daughter, Miranda Frum. The reader response has been very positive to it, and we really thank Miranda for her excellent editing that has made this such a lively item. Today we are going to have just two reader queries because they're both very substantial and serious, and they deserve a substantial response. From regular reader and frequent commenter, Balcone's Fault. What exactly has Obama been over-regulating? For example, the other day you made the claim that Obama had embraced a command and control, statist approach to dealing with climate change, rather than leveraging market forces. Ignoring that using tax code to leverage market forces is still a statist approach, surely you understand that the EPA is currently regulating carbon dioxide as a pollutant, not because that's Obama's first choice, but rather because the Clean Air Act, as written, mandates that course of action in the absence of any other directive from Congress. Here's what I mean by command and control. In the stimulus, President Obama invested about $90 billion. Well, that's about $1.10 of the entire stimulus package in various kinds of direct government grants to various forms of green energy. This is government acting as investor, government acting as venture capitalist. And the history of this kind of approach in the United States and other countries is pretty dismal. That's not what government is good at. If government wants to drive toward a cleaner, more environmental approach, government should set general standards, should set goals, and then let the market figure out the way to do it. And this is especially important in the era of green energy. We really do not know how we are going to solve the climate problem. It may be with new energy sources, it may be with alternative energy, it may, and I think this is much more likely personally, end up being a reuse of space, people moving closer to center cities, driving smaller cars, finding various kinds of car substitutes. But the point is, I don't know, President Obama doesn't know, the government should not be making direct investments. It should set a price on carbon and let the market find the right way to conserve and substitute. Here's a comment from reader Oki Exile, and this is about the situation in Gaza. David, what is the realistic endgame here? Hamas seems to be backed into a corner, partly by their own doing, with nothing to lose but seemingly unwilling to accept any outcome that leaves Israel a viable state. Clinton helped wrangle an offer that got most of what the Palestinians wanted, but Arafat appeared unable or unwilling to sell it to his own people. Does Hamas think that this is going to get them a better outcome? Meanwhile, Israel acts as if they have everything to lose, and that anything less than their current response exposes them to elimination. It may seem excessive, but that view gets significant reinforcement from loud voices in Iran and elsewhere. Somewhere in all of this, there would seem to be a solution where Hamas could disarm in return for significant economic aid from Israel and at least a nominal retreat on settlements. But that would have to involve backing things down from an existential struggle and both sides controlling their extremists. I think it's very important in studying any struggle to remember that both sides have agency, both sides act. It's almost never true that only one side acts and the other side is entirely acted upon. And so it is in the Middle East. And we need to take Hamas seriously. They have an ideology, they have a set of beliefs. They want not just the destruction of Israel, but the imposition of an Islamic state upon all of the territory that is now Israel, plus the West Bank and Gaza, which they would then rule in a kind of Taliban-like way. That's what they want. They're not joking about it, and they're serious. And they're not looking for economic aid. I mean, there is so much economic aid on offer to any Palestinian entity that wants to make a deal. I think it's a mistake to think about end states. I think you have to play the game as best you can. For Israel, what that means is this. Israel needs to be prepared to rigorously defend itself within defensible boundaries. I think the separation fence between Israel and the West Bank and the barriers on Gaza offer an outline of what those defensible boundaries will be. Israel needs to be ready to respond decisively when challenged beyond those boundaries. I think Israel also needs to avoid unnecessary provocations beyond those boundaries. I do think it is just irrational and expensive to be engaged in settlement activity in areas that, if there ever were a settlement, Israel would not be intending or able to keep. And then Israel needs to focus on what is truly the existential threat, which is not from Hamas, but from Iran. I got a lot of retweets this week on a tweet I sent out on Thanksgiving Day, linking to an article we posted on the site called Thanksgiving, Time to Be Your Parents' IT Department. The tweet linked to an article, a little play sent to me by a friend of mine in Los Angeles. I opened it by saying someone once joked that the Tea Party was my generation's punishment for teaching our parents how to use the internet. And my friend who wrote this little playlet described what he does when he returns to visit his mother and how he has to set up her iPad. It's funny, but I also have some compassion because obsolescence happens to all of us, and I feel it rapidly overtaking me. And my wife and I often joke that the day is not far off when we are going to be calling our children saying, how do we turn off the robot before it kills the cat?